how's it going? Today we are doing a garden tour, mid-September garden tour. We haven't pulled any summer annuals yet. We're getting ready to, but I wanted to get out here and show you what it looks like toward the end of the season when some things are starting to look tired, but honestly, it's been a really good season. We've had a lot more rainfall than normal, a lot less wind, and a lot less 100+ degree days. I think maybe a week's worth of temperatures at like 105, 106, and that's it, and that's kind of unheard of. So we were just talking yesterday about how we could live with this sort of weather pattern. It's been really, really nice. So we're starting over here on the west side because it's shaded right now. It's morning time, and it's looking so pretty, and it's starting to fill in quite a bit. And you can see how the Surefire white begonias are doing. So impressed with this plant, I have to say. I was a little bit skeptical right after we got done planting because they were so puny. They were so little. They had hardly rooted or hadn't even rooted in, some of them, into their containers. And I just thought, oh, here we go. I don't know, this might not be very nice, but they're gorgeous. The thing I like about them too is that they are like well behaved. You know, they fill in this space, but they're not shooting runners through the boxwoods and creating kind of a mess, which you'll see in several areas is what we do have going on. These are just like this nice mounted, compact, dense, colorful plant. Doesn't require fertilizer, doesn't require insect spray, it doesn't require deadheading. Takes sun and shade. I think in a real hot climate, they do prefer a little bit of protection in the late afternoon, which we found from our Surefire rose begonias. We'll look at that up in the Versailles garden. They are starting to rebound now that it's getting cooler, but overall an amazing plant. Coming through this dirt, well, you know, I wonder if we should just take a quick peek at the vegetable garden. We were just in here harvesting the other day in a video, but it's kind of a little bit of a wildness. We've got the Sweet Romance lavender looking amazing. I think the overall height's supposed to be 12 to 18 inches tall, definitely bigger than that at this point, but loving it. I think it's absolutely perfect right here. And these containers, out of all of our containers, I want to say that I'm probably the most impressed by these because we have not trimmed these. They get weekly fertilizer, Proven Winners water soluble fertilizer, and weekly spray with the either Captain Jack's Dead Bug or the BT for our budworm issue, which if we get budworms, I could probably find, we have had them around. I don't even see any damage. Not on these containers. I'll show you some damage on other containers. But in these, we've got the Carolee Petite Gara, which is honestly holding its own. The vigor of this plant is keeping up with the vigor of the Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, which is surprising to me. I mean, this is just climbing the fence and coming out the back here, looking beautiful. We've got this Super Bina Sparkling Amethyst. And then I think, this isn't a Mini Vista, is it? Or is this this isn't the Raspberry Rush. This must be a Supertunia Mini, like Pink Star, right? I can't remember, but beautiful, loving them. We've got some Big Smile dwarf sunflowers right here. We're not going to go this direction because if you come in here, you can see we really can't. I've got some cantaloupes that are just completely taking over, so that's becoming the wild side of our garden there. We've harvested 3 cantaloupes so far. Those were late planted, mid and then again late June. So I'm really happy that we're getting some produce off of them. And then of course our tomatoes are massive and kind of taking over, but we're able to harvest a ton. The interesting part about it not pruning is that you don't see a lot of the tomatoes. As you can see right here, they're all kind of on the interior of the plant, but we don't get sun scorched. I don't get nearly as many of them damaged in any kind of way because they're all protected. Bachelor's buttons, I'm so glad we seeded these. They're so pretty right here. I haven't even cut any for arrangements because I just enjoy so much seeing them here. And I'm seeing some little bumbles and some honeybees. Just enjoying. And then we do have a pineapple tomato. This is an heirloom. And I don't know if you can actually see how many tomatoes are on this plant throughout. I mean, it's insane. And I've harvested so many. They're huge, they're meaty, they turn like a yellow and then a deep amber color underneath. They're so good. We've got a cucumber here, and anyway, just things going on in here that are really, really nice. Underneath the arbor, we did pop a bench out. Did we show that to you last time? I can't remember if it was here or not, because you can kind of sit underneath the elderberry. Well, I'm right in the sun. Sit underneath the elderberry here and kind of relax. need to do some pruning. But Samantha and Benjamin love to ride on this brick walkway. So they just ride up and down, and Aaron and I will sit here and chat, and it's just a really fun, relaxed kind of spot. It does kind of drive me crazy that it doesn't meet up with the brick walkway. We might move it. We'll have to move this little arrangement and some plants, but if we have the bench here, it might be kind of nice to see that instead of seeing it off to the side. Isn't that kind of like, it jars me. I don't know, but it was an easy place to pop it because there was nothing in the way at the moment. These right here are David Austin Ambridge Rose, which I actually don't think they sell anymore, which is a shame. These are such an amazing rose. Look at this. So full and fragrant. I love the color. I even love the color as they start to age. They get a little bit more light, almost white, but they're just super healthy, beautiful, floriferous plants, backed of course by the Limelight Hydrangea Standard, which is so pretty. And I prune those super hard every year, and they do really well. Okay, moving this way, we've got some perennials that were cut back, I think, for the last tour, and they've kind of reflushed. We've got Cat's Pajamas Nepeta in there. We've got more David Austins. This is the Royal Jubilee right here. These have a little bit more of an open feel to them, or open look, I guess. I think they're really pretty, and I love that clear pink. They are quite large. These were transplanted from behind the gazebo. A lot of this stuff was transplanted, which makes me really happy to see it thriving like it is. The purple fountain grass. It's a wild monster of a grass at this point. With our storms this summer, they were flattened a couple of times, like flat. And they would kind of pick back up, but then they'd always leave behind some of these. So now they look like big fireworks at this point. They're really quite pretty. We actually thought along the way, it looks like a new grass almost formed in the center, and we need to come along and kind of clean up some of these stragglers. But we'll probably do some fall arrangements in these eventually. So, or not, we might just leave the grasses. They look very fall. I've done very little planting in this flower bed this year. This is the Beyond Midnight Caryopteris. Isn't that gorgeous? These are just phenomenal. I'll show you some more. In fact, I showed you a bank of them that we have planted recently, and they're just amazing. These are the Alnwick Rose. Another David Austin. There are 3 of them here. 1, 2, 3. Another Caryopteris. I did plant some creeping thyme. That's the orange thyme. And there's a lot of repeat of perennials in this area. I wanted a lot of delphinium. I wanted Caryopteris, Nepeta, perennial geraniums, iris. There is a Miss Violet Buddleia right here. It's planted way back there, and it's got an arm coming way up here, which I kind of love. That's beautiful. And then we do have 5 Mary Rose David Austins right here. Look at this. These were also transplanted from behind the gazebo, and clearly doing really well. We also have got a Brandywine Viburnum, which honestly, it looks like it could use maybe a little bit of iron, Aaron. We need to add that to the list. But these typically have leaves that are like this deep green, and they're shiny, glossy, and then they get discs of white blooms that are followed by these beautiful berries, which sometimes they're blue and pink. I'm kind of loving that they're just pink right now. And then these leaves will turn red in the fall, later on in the fall. We're not quite there yet. We've been seeing some trees around town and around in our area showing a little bit of fall color, and one of our red point maples that's I think maybe a little bit stressed is showing some fall color at this point. We do have some Stand By Me clematis, which I'm considering removing. It comes up in the spring. It looks really pretty for its first bloom, and then it's just kind of maybe I'm not pruning it properly or getting it staked up. These are all staked up in rings, but it kind of just does this flop thing, and maybe I need to get my layering right to have it look good. But anyway, that's something that might happen. Another Caryopteris. See how the repeat is just kind of fun. It brings a little bit of cohesiveness to the bed. And then we have a button bush. This is the Sugar Shack. Phenomenal shrub. Look at those huge leaves, especially toward the back there. And it was full of those really fun, fluffy white blooms, and it's just done really well in this location. The elderberry took to its prune job real well, and in fact, I could probably come in here and prune a few more things out, We planted some campanula right below that are doing really well. And then we've just got kind of a menagerie of things down here. Another Limelight Standard. It's huge. My goodness. I had a Daisy May daisy kind of poop out right there. I think I'm gonna dig up a little chunk from another one of these just to fill in the spots. This area I need to address. And maybe if I cut that elderberry and did that in more of a tree form, it would kind of loosen, is that the right word? Lighten this area up a little bit. And there's really nothing it's over the top of except for this cypress. Yeah, I think I need to do some trimming in here because there's a lot. There's a lot going on. I have a serviceberry in here. You can barely tell I have a serviceberry. It's a tad overplanted back here. So I need to lighten the load a bit. Okay. Let's go, before we go out to the south, well, should we just look at this? Look at this. I have no words, really. Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. If you want something that's high impact, that doesn't require a ton of fuss, definitely a good annual. We have it mixed in here with Plain the Blue Salvia. Oh, there is some Poet's Wife. That's another David Austin right there. Beautiful, super fragrant. Love that rose. And these came from behind the gazebo as well. Truffle of Pink Amphrena. There's some Diamond Frost Euphorbia in here, which I'm surprised is holding its own because it's naturally a smaller plant and it's holding up to the vigor here. We've got a Superbena in here from last year, just popping out there like it wants to be seen. The other plant that I'm really loving in here, do you see that lavender one? That's the Steel Blue Angelonia. It has done so beautifully and I love that lavender color. I'm going to be using more of that for sure. Okay, we're gonna take a quick look at the hay racks. Now I have to preface this. First off, this is where everyone parks. So we're gonna be working around cars. Also, we have had some major water issues with our drip in this area. We didn't realize that some of them were plugged. We're kind of coming to the realization that with as much hard water as we've got, we might have to replace that 1/4-inch drip twice a season. So some of these are gonna look rough, some of them look amazing. So there you go, there's your warning. Okay, we'll start on the other end so I'm not squinting in the sun. Thank you, Erin. Kind of starting with the bad ones because you guys, it started plugging about right here this way. Like we came out and realized that one of these was completely dead because it was getting 0 water on this end. So, I mean, kind of take this with a grain of salt, this update. I feel bad for the plants because they didn't really get a fair shake, but I mean, it kind of goes to show you how tough they can be. This is the Superbena Redstone right here. Overall looking really good, super happy with the performance and really the color. I think having the yellow on the tips makes it look a little softer than like a pure red flower. So I've really enjoyed the color. We've got Supertunia Mini Vista Midnight. This is a new one for last year. No, for this year, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other ones are new for next year. This one has trailed more than I thought it was going to. That's the other thing, we haven't trimmed any of these at all. So the only thing they've had is, well, semi-consistent water toward the other end, weekly fertilizer and budworm spray if they are a Super Belle or a Supertunia. So other than that, there's no trimming. James Britannia, this is the Safari Dusk. Been very, very pleased with this plant. We have this one in the ground by the chicken coop as well. I think it's done better in the hay rack because it was allowed to dry out, and that's what it wants. So it's actually done well with the treatment it's received. Super Belle's Vintage Coral. Really pretty color. It has trailed, and like I said, we lost this one because it died due to lack of water. This one needs to be watered right now. Yep. This is the Campfire Marshmallow. Like, just kind of brush past that one. They look amazing in the landscape, and I'll show you those in a minute. I will be planting more of those. This is the Super Belle's Improved Pink right here, which I planted in the ground, you guys, in the eco pots. Let's just real quick come over here. I decided to run an experiment, a couple of experiments here. First of all, they usually recommend that you don't plant Superbena in the ground because Superbells rather, because Superbells want to dry out between watering. And this happens to be our most wet corner in the landscape. I don't know why I chose this location, but I thought, you know what, let's just plant these in the ground, but leave them in the eco pots. So maybe they won't receive quite as much water. We'll see how they do, see if the pots break down. They're still quite firm. I mean, they'll break down if I force it, but they've done so great. And I would say at this point, they look like they're starting to cycle out a little bit and maybe need a little bit of a back off of water now that it's cooler. But they were prime. I think maybe, Erin, did you even get some video? Maybe we can put it up, but they looked prime for most of the summer. I've been so happy. I will do that again. For sure. Okay, back to these. Supertunia Mini Vista Yellow, again, the water malfunctioned. This one was very dry. Like this one was showing the stress more than most, and you can tell that by how the plant looks now. I want to show you another area where we've got it planted in the ground and it looks nothing like this. I feel a little bad just showing the plants like this because this is not how they perform if they're given the proper water. Superbells Smitten Pink. Now this one I can see some aphid activity on. I can see, yep, this one's got aphids. We'll have to take care of that. See those little green things? Yep. You can tell this one vigor-wise, it's a little bit slower growing. I do have it in another container up front. I think that you can maybe still see it. I have some other geraniums in there too, and they're huge. I love the color of this one so much though, and it's just this dainty little plant. And I know that the aphids haven't been there for too long, otherwise we would see more stress in the plant. This is a Color Blaze Cherry Drop Coleus. It's so big. And this is about, let's see, that one was struggling, you can tell, for water. I think after this point we're pretty good. But this one definitely, I didn't need as many. I think I just planted, how many did I plant? 3 in here maybe? Maybe I did 5, no, 1, 3. I only did 3 in here. Anyway, so we've got really pretty color, and we do have these in the ground to show you somewhere else too. Scaevola Whirlwind White Improved, looking great. The pollinators of any hay rack out here, the pollinators have been on this one the thickest. I don't know why they're not here right now. There's a honeybee right there, a few of them. But every time I come out here, this one's loaded, which is interesting. Superbena, this is the Cherry Burst, is that right? Improved. Looks like a candy cane. This one cycled out for a few weeks and was pretty green, and then it came back with a nice bloom flush, which I'm happy about. Superbells, do they call this blue? Improved. I put a tag in here, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah, Superbells Blue Improved. And vigor is good on this one. The flower coverage is really good. It's doing well. This is the Supertunia Mini Vista Sangria. My goodness. If it's a Vista, it's just gonna grow really well. Lots of color. This Superbells Double White. Highly recommend. Really good vigor. Beautiful plant. You can see in the morning hours it does get some shade. So that's the other thing. Some of these get more shade than others. The Terrenia, this is the pink improved, I think. And this one gets shade in the afternoon. This one has just overall a little bit more of a yellow vibe. It looks like that in the containers where I planted it as well. So we'll see. I mean, it's got green leaves, but I think it's the color of the thing that holds the bloom on. It's just lighter colored. But it's still, this is a good one for a full shade location if you are in need of color in a shady spot. Saffron Finch, love. Love, love, love. Highly recommend this one. It looks good in the hay rack. It looks good in the ground. Right beyond it is the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid. Highly recommend that one as well. Oh my gosh. In the ground or in containers. Pink Cashmere Superbena. This one also flushed out a little bit, just like the Cherry Burst over there. And then it came back. It did the same thing in my containers as well. So the Sparkling Amethyst, I noticed didn't, and the Stormburst that we have out in the garden didn't flush out of bloom all summer. This one did. So I don't know. We'll try it out again and see what happens. I do have this in the landscape and it didn't flush out as bad as this one did here. So maybe this one had a little water struggle as well. This is the Supertunia Mini Vista Marine. And we have this one planted around the chicken coop as well. I noticed in this location it has a little bloom fade. I did not notice that as being a thing with it in the ground. But I really like the color. It's almost like a glow sort of purple. It's a really interesting color. Probably should have come and groomed that out before the tour. This is Coconut Nemesia. And I don't know. I have no excuse for this one. I don't know why it looks like this. It must have been a water struggle. That's what it appears to be. Oh geez, that looks bad. Hey, there's one left that looks good. It's wet.
Yeah.
So like it couldn't have been a water struggle, right? Because we haven't replaced anything. We're just hand watering the ones now that we're struggling because we didn't want to accidentally damage the stems of anything. Okay, we've got is it penny lace, I think? That doesn't really look like a penny lace to me. It looks like a red hawk or something. It's doing really, really well. And the Supertunia Bermuda Beach improved, which is looking great. Okay, so that's a hay rack update. Before we lose shade around the house, I think we should go back up that way and kind of hit the pond area, and then we'll come back out here. This is the red point maple I was mentioning earlier that's showing some fall color. It's stressed on this side, but it looks healthy on the other side. I don't see any insect damage. I do see this though, which Erin was doing some research, and they say that this is like an indicator of sunburn at some point. I don't know. Do you have any words of wisdom on that? Yeah. I need to do a little bit more looking and asking some growers about that. See what we can do, or if there's anything we can do about it. Okay, we haven't done anything over here yet. I am ready though, I think, to draw out the grass lines and get rid of some of this grass and start forming up and planting these flower beds. I do love the height of these limelights. I like that. That's perfect right underneath the windows. And then right in here, the Hudson Bay hostas, our hostas overall, some of them look very tired and they've got burn on them, but this is the best year for hostas ever because some of them aren't showing any stress at all. And that's not normal for us. Usually by this time of year, we don't have any hostas left. We've had to groom so much of them down. This flower bed has sadly been a little bit neglected this year. We are going to prune boxes next week. It is on the schedule. We've got Sweet Romance Lavender, our Limelight Punch? No, is that right? Little Lime Punch hydrangeas. For the most part, I'm very happy with how they've been growing this year because we've struggled with hydrangeas in here in the past. I have one or two that I might replace. This one looked dead for a long, long time. I don't even know if you can see it from there, but it did start to leaf out a bit, so I might see what it does next spring. This is one, I think maybe from this angle, Erin, you might be able to see the enormity of it. This is the Plectranthus right here, which I love. I think it's just so pretty. We've got Supertunia Latte, the white geraniums that I started from seed. The Oxalis is actually held. I put it on this side of the container because this area is blasted with the sun in the afternoon, and this has survived being on the east side of the container. The rest of these plants shade it. So it's just like this huge monstrous annual container at this point, but I'm really happy with how it grew. Douglas is just all around Erin's feet. Lungwort, we planted these this year and they look great. That's the new variety called Pinkadot right there. And see, look, hostas, they're not like prime, but they're not horrible. And usually by this time it's at least half this size because we've had to groom so many leaves off. So I'm very pleased with that. We've got more lungwort in here, some Haconocloa and Lamium. Now this is the cherry drop. If you come on this side, Erin, you can really see the color of this coleus. This is the same one we just looked at in the hay rack, and it looks so much better right here where it's more protected. You can see the brightness of the pink. It's just like intermingled with the plants beautifully in here. I really like the growth rate in a more shady spot. It's a little less thick and dense. We've got some of the double up white begonias in here. This whole area, we'll go into this bed here in a minute, but you can see all of the coleus from this side looking so good. The Golden Dreams, just take a look at the growth habit of this one versus the other ones we've got in this area. Same area, same drip. This one's enormous, requires more water. In fact, it's already starting to flop a little bit. It requires some supplemental water just because of how big the leaves are and how big the plants are overall. We've also got the cherry brandy in here, the lime thyme. We've got Nuit Noir, the really dark maroon one in here. It just turned out to be a really fun coleus area. And it's definitely something I would repeat in this spot because it's handled everything. It's a weird location because like from this side right here, the west side, it gets a slice of sun right at the hottest part of the day. So it just kind of sweeps across this bed, and that's a really weird area to plant because if you plant full shade loving things because it's a shady spot during the day, but then it gets blasted with 1 to 2 hours of that hot afternoon sun, shade stuff can't handle that, but full sun stuff doesn't really love it as well. So putting color blaze coleus that can do either, or like surefire begonias would be great in here. I think that's just the perfect kind of plant for this space. Oh, I can't wait to see these all pruned up next week. And have really tight, nice hedges again. And I think it's supposed to be quite a bit cooler in the 70s when we tackle this project. We actually have it planned out this year when we're going to do it. Otherwise, you guys know how I am. Things just fall between the cracks, and then I miss my pruning window, and then I end up with winter tip burn and stuff. Incredible hydrangeas looking really pretty. The best year for these for sure. Kind of coming in on our kitchen flower bed area. You can see some of the annuals, like the Bordeaux, is getting some tiredness, looking a little tired. We're going to pull a few of those. Looks really good right here. And then the Japanese anemones were so tall until we got that last storm. You know, the tail end of that hurricane that came through our area. It just kind of flattened those a bit, which is a bummer, but they're still beautiful. I'm super happy with how this combination came together. So this is the Dusty Miller called New Look that we started from seed. I bought a packet of 50 seeds. I started them in a 24 count tray, so I put 2 seeds in every one of them, except for one got 3. Every single seed came up. And I think there was actually a few extra seeds that came in that packet, but every single one came up, and I separated them and planted them in 4-inch containers, so I had them to use. Actually, I have 5 left in the greenhouse I'm going to use in fall containers. Highly recommend starting that one from seed. Super easy, they grew beautifully, and look at them in the landscape. And you can see that these get far more shade than the ones over here, and the growth rate is just about the same. The Helichrysum icicles right back there, kind of showing a different texture of the same color of blue foliage, but I'm just real happy with it. Very full. Okay, let's go this direction. One thing I did down here is I tucked a few Wicked Witch, just like 2 Wicked Witch coleus in, and that's such a wonderful space filler. I've really liked that, and that's something I will repeat. We've got the double up pink begonias kind of tucked in around the bottom. And then we arrived to the area that we are just like kind of working on. You know, we haven't done any planting here, but this was, the brick patio was just finished. Was it in June that it was actually finished? But we haven't finished planting boxwoods all the way around it. We've got containers coming. I think they'll be here in November for the corners. The circle area, though, that's been fun to watch fill in. We've got the King Tut grass in the center, which, oh my goodness, it has really taken off. And then the coleus down below, like this right here is one Golden Dreams coleus right there. We've got it planted in with some Wicked Witch and some lime thyme, and you can just see, like, vigor-wise, the Golden Dreams just, it's a stunner for sure, so long as it gets the water that it wants. So that's something to consider. The Hartley area over here, the purple annuals are still largely looking really good. We haven't lost any, we didn't lose a single boxwood in this whole area. You know, we planted them late last year, and they've just done so beautifully. Our Julia Child roses. So this one is full of color. That one has buds on it, and it's got a bloom that has opened. It's funny because Aaron was saying that he thought that one a couple weeks ago had more flowers than this one. So they're just kind of like taking turns being the one that has the most color, but I love them. I'm so happy with those. In these areas here, you can hardly see the boxwoods. Plain the Blue salvia, and it was a mix of Plain the Blues and Unplugged Blue. Definitely prefer Plain the Blues. Oh, look at the big bumble in there. I don't know why, but every time I see him, just gotta stop. We had wanted to play in the blue snap though. That's something to consider. You see that in there, it just snapped, and then we have a huge hole. They do get quite large and they're fairly brittle. So if you put them in an area that's exposed, they can snap off. And so that's just something to think about. But Superbena Violet Ice. My word. It's like, it's crawling into the cold frames. It's crawling on top of the cold frames along with Supertunia Royal Velvet in there. My centerpiece plants were Meteor Shower Verbena, and mostly there's a few more showing in that side, but largely didn't need them. And then I put some apple blossom geraniums in there. You can see like one flower in each pot. So anyway, the mix of these two though, the Violet Ice and the Royal Velvet, that's got to be a favorite of mine right there. I think they're so beautiful. We put artichokes up here, and this is exactly what I thought they would do, which is perfect. I wanted the foliage. I didn't care about the blooms up here. You know, we had started some from seed, and I planted some out in the new property, and they actually have artichokes on them right now. And these I had left over, and I didn't really have plans for these. I needed something that could handle heat, like hot. This is south exposure, and they've really done well and provided just some really interesting structure. You can see the red geraniums through the glass there. I need to get in there and groom some of them up though. Ooh, a lot more meteor shower showing right here in this container. Wow. All right, we're almost to the pond. Real quick look at a couple things over here. The Supertunia Bordeaux in this area has been a really productive. It looks the best in this one right here. It's starting to fizzle out. I don't know if it's getting a little bit too much water in these areas or what, but I'm ready for something different. We had a big water break, right? It was like right here, right under this boxwood. So we had to dig out 3 or 4 of the boxwoods. There was a huge hole underneath the bricks. The bricks actually stayed. So I think, right? Or did Paul take them apart? Because Paul redid it, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he ended up kind of taking them apart and redoing this corner, but there was a huge hole dug right here to fix a break. And I mean, it had flooded this whole area, and that's kind of when the Bordeaux started to decline a little bit. So I think it was maybe just a little bit too much water. And then I wanted to show you over here. Now this is an area that's been on my mind a lot. I need to go through here and pull a bunch of stuff out and redo it. But I wanted to show you the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens. These are the ones that were up in the hay rack that looked kind of crummy because of the water issue. You give them water, they're not going to look crummy. The honeybees are everywhere on them. They have impressed me thoroughly. I think they're a beautiful plant. A lot of bang for your buck too. They look like this all summer long, and I think they get bigger than the tag says they do, or at least they have in this spot. Okay, let's look at the pond. It's almost done. We're at that position still where we're going to be doing the sand. I think they're going to do that. Were they going to do that this week? Maybe tomorrow, I'm guessing. So we'll get all the sand and the stones, and then we'll bring in mulch to clean up all the edges and remulch this whole space. But this area as a whole has been just so, I can't even explain it. We were just talking about it this morning and how we have used this space more since it was finished at the end of July, so July to mid-September, than we ever used it in the prior 6 years. I mean, it's incredible. We come out here every night. The kids love it. So Aaron and I sit in the chairs and just kind of chat, and the kids are all over the place. They have like a little garden they've created in the mulch pile over there with rocks. They come out and they have sword fights in the driveway, and it's just so fun. Oh, okay, yeah, so here are my thoughts back here at the moment. We're not going to get to any of this fall, so I have many months to change my mind, but I thought it would be kind of fun at some point to veer off of this pathway and come through here, creating the same kind of feel. I kind of want it to all be more natural, kind of wooded, no formal plantings and no formal plants. Like, I don't think I will probably use any roses or things like that in this area, and I don't want there to be too much color, if that makes sense. I want it to look more mountainy. Anyway, come off that and then kind of meander through here, maybe creating some more contour, and then having a pathway come back out right about here that lines up with the doors of the Hartley. So then there could be more pathways that go through here. We do have other plans right by the barn that will take up some space. We'll share those with you when we get to that point, but having a vista a view from the back doors of the Hartley. That's kind of important to me, to make you feel like you're pulled to, you know, different areas of the garden and that everything connects nicely. So that would mean, so the pathway would come out here, same kind of stone. I want to build up another berm right here, kind of like we've done on the other side of the pathway, so that it all feels like it's part of the same space. So there'll be a berm much like this one right on the other side of this pathway, making this feel kind of almost sunken and like, I don't know, like secret in a way. And it will be more thick. Like, you know, in the end, you probably won't see as much of this view as you do now. But a lot of the things that we've planted, they're doing really well. We've got some Russian sage in here. The plumbago's doing great. Just the whole feel. Whoops. I just got stung on my foot. Pedro dropped off sand samples. That's too close. Do you think it's too highly contrasted? It needs to be in between those two.
No, I think the lighter one is correct.
Okay. It's gonna match it.
It's okay.
So we want, what is this called? I don't know. Yeah, this might look too jarring. That's too light, don't you think? Or do you think the lighter one?
Oh, maybe the lighter one.
Yeah, definitely not the brown.
No, I'd go with the little darker one.
Okay, Aaron called it. So I'm gonna set these here and I'll tell Pedro the one that we want by itself over there. Cool. It's looking pretty clear. I need to get in there and groom. Maybe I'll do that today. I need to groom some of the lilies. I wanted to wait till they were done with the pathway, and maybe I'll still wait till they're done with the sand, so I can get in there and like clean off the top of the lily pads. But oh, you can see the fish have grown. Little green. Do we need to turn on the thing? What's it? Iogen?
Yeah. What's it set at?
I think I have it set at 3.
But there's for now.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Love the stairs. Love this whole area so much. Do you know why that's open, Aaron? Is there a reason?
Yep.
Oh, Samantha fell in that hole the other night.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, so I was like, can we fill that in? Benjamin and I planted the 9-bark the other day. But yeah, I'm just so happy with this space. It feels so good. I love the fact that when you come out this way, it lines up with this walkway. So you just kind of like seamlessly flow into your next space. And I've kind of been just waiting to finish stuff up in these areas in terms of planting, because I just wanted to see how it felt. You know, that's such a big deal to me. I'm such a visual person, and things evolve too much for me to do a plan without seeing, like standing here and feeling the space. I did plant, these are the itty bitty peach roses in these containers the other day. They're all dripped in and doing really great. Okay, so these are funny. These are the first containers we're gonna remove. Now they look kind of impressive just because of sheer size, but oh my gosh. Okay, the purple fountain grasses are massive. Look at the potato vine. If you want a potato vine that's very vigorous, plant this one. It's the light green, Sweet Caroline light green. I probably won't use it in containers again because it's like this at the college too. I couldn't get my hands on Sweetheart Lime. That's what I ordered, and it just was a hard one to get this year. It's way more compact, and it's way more, tidy growing. These, I mean, I've trimmed them twice hard, and they're just everywhere. It's a complete ground cover potato vine. Look at this one from this side. Look at the color. The south side of these pots is always most impressive because they get more sun. But we got jazzberry in there and the Stormburst Superbena popping through. Like, really? Look at that. I mean, you can't complain about the plant not being healthy. It definitely likes its situation here. Okay, let's hop over here. And you guys, I think we're gonna break this up into 2 videos. This is garden tour 1, just because there's so much to look at up here. And then we'll do part 2 will be South Garden, cut flower garden, and maybe our vegetable stuff over here. So I wanted to talk to you about the Surefire Rose Begonias. They're looking so great right now, but something I noticed this summer is that this section here gets more sun than the back section, and these suffered a little bit, and they aren't on drip irrigation. They only get irrigation from our sprinkler water, but I have noticed that they have really rebounded and they're looking really good now that our nights are cooler and things are just a little bit more mild. But definitely a great one to plant in an area where you get a lot of shade and a lot more sun. They have very similar growth habits either way, and they're again a nice tidy plant, but they still get some bulk and size. Never deadhead these, never touch them. They don't have to be fertilized and they don't have to be sprayed. And they provide this color all season long. Very, very happy with these. All right, Douglas. He's swiping at me a lot less than he used to. Okay, Sprinter boxwoods definitely rebound big time. The Russian sage got flattened during the last storm, so it's something that we might cut back earlier than normal. We usually leave it. We left it all winter this last year, but it's laying on the boxwoods. I'm not really digging that, but the Sprinter boxwoods that we cut back really hard this summer, they've rebounded. They look really good. In fact, I kind of wish I would have taken them down even harder than I did, but it kind of shows you the resilience of plants and how tough they can be. We've dealt with far less spider mites this year, and I don't know if that has to do with the predatory mite release, because we still do have thrips, not as thick as we did, but I've just known a marked decrease in the amount of spider mites. That could be because of our moisture levels as well. They do prefer hot, dry, but anyway, I've just been very impressed with how these have handled their situation. So these pots have already been cleared out because we had one of them plug up. Got totally plugged, and the plants were sitting in water, and they eventually died. And then this one right here, I can't remember what happened to it, but I think it was maybe after one of the storms, and it looked pretty poor, and since we didn't have a matching set, we just decided to clean both of them out. I wanted to mention real quick before we head out this way that we are going to be tackling the grass in this area here like in the next couple of weeks, I'm guessing. We're taking all of it out in front of the Hartley. We're putting in a stone walkway from the opening in the boxwoods to the house over here. In fact, we can walk over here. We are coming back in with grass, but the thing is that it's gonna be a lot smaller. Most of this is gonna be flower bed on this side, and from about probably here over, we'll have some lawn, but we have to redo sprinklers in this whole area, so we just decided it would be easier to tear all the grass up, redo the sprinklers, seed grass again, kind of start over. So the rock pathway, will be here, and it will come toward the house. All of this will be flower bed. Most of this will be flower bed. It's going to be really nice to have a very clear marked path from the patio to the Hartley. It's going to feel good. And then we can kind of start reworking this area. We're going to take out, most of these roses are climbing roses. And I don't know, they were here when we moved in. And I don't know if they meant to plant climbers, like maybe there was a structure there at some point that I don't know about. But there is a Floribunda iceberg rose. And I'm thinking maybe the labeling got confused and a climber was put in its position, so they want to be massive. I don't know if you guys are familiar with climbing iceberg roses, but my parents had them when I was growing up, and they're so vigorous and they want to be so big. It's very hard to keep them trimmed down in this area. It's just not the right plant for this spot. So we'll be taking that out. I'm kind of thinking a nice large evergreen. At the point when we do this, we might be taking this out, I'm guessing. I don't know. I've had thoughts though. Wouldn't it be really fun to have a really formal little knot garden? Like a little formal knot garden, like potager sort of situation right here, right by the kitchen door, like an herb garden maybe. If the tree's gone, I'll have more sun, so I can do that. I don't know, we'll see. Okay. I kind of want to go out the driveway and down this way so we can look at the annuals up here. That's kind of where we're going to end it anyway, I think. So a couple more spots. This right here is what Supertunia Mini Vestiello should actually look like. And this has been my experience with it up to this point. The ones in the hay rack are a very poor representation of what they do, and it's our fault. This is just phenomenal. I mean, you can barely see any green. It just looks like a sea of yellow. It's just amazing. We've got the pink Senorita or Senorita pink zinnias in here that we started from seed. The Stormburst Superbena has been a little bit struggling in this space, still providing good color, but I can see it's starting to show a little bit of stress, like right in this area and right in here. Right here we have the Maximilian Sunflower. This is cut back every single year. It grows that tall and it'll start popping out some yellow flowers here real soon. I think that'll be really pretty to see the yellow flowers with the yellow Supertunias. We've got the nice purple, there's Russian sage right here. It'll be a really pretty look. And then lastly, the shade area under here. We had a little bit of wind last night and it has knocked some of the ash leaves down, but you can see that the plants in this space, they've done well. We haven't lost anything. Nothing's ever even struggled in this space. The oak leaf hydrangeas that I'm hoping are stronger next year are starting to show their fall color in the blooms. Everything's just looking nice. And I love this view right through here, seeing the beautiful Surefire Rose begonias. It's just a fun space. And you guys, I think that's going to be it for our garden tour part 1 for mid-September. We'll see you in part 2. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.